What is going on, guys? And this is For the XP, a YouTube channel dedicated to Dungeons & Dragons and tabletop gaming alike. My name is Brent, and I will be your host / Dungeon Master for this show. The past couple of videos I have posted have been about campaign diaries and how my campaign has been going thus far since the beginning. I've ultimately decided that I'm going to try to jam-pack Session 2 through 6 in one episode because I realized tonight and over the past week that I don't have a whole lot of time to actually catch up and get on par with what's been going on as far as in a timely manner. I feel like I'm just going to keep getting more and more behind the longer I wait to do this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do like a really long-ish video, at least for me, and talk myself to death and try to get this briefly set up to where you can finally follow along as we play as weeks go by. So when we left off, Eilon, Durgan, Norik, and Alton all approached a silver dragonborn posted up at his tent. He looked like he was doing a little bit of like morning duties. Eilon was the one who actually directly approached this dragonborn, being that he was a draconic lineage sorcerer. He had a bloodline of a silver dragon, so he felt like he could identify with one, and which I thought that was like a pretty good idea. That was really interesting. I wouldn't have thought to do that, so we decided to see how it went down. But the thing about Hafka is they don't deal a lot with outsiders. They don't have a lot of people going in and out of their towns and settlements because usually they don't have a settlement, and that they don't deal with a lot of people outside of their caravans when they're trading with actual outsiders. So when Eilon and the group approached this Dragonborn, he immediately reacted by calling for the guards, and he specifically said that the thieves were here. And in the session 1, they were tasked by the gypsy lady that they did not take her name of. She wanted them to go get some dragonborn egg embryos, so immediately they sensed like a sort of there's something going on here. They were immediately surrounded by dragonborn guard, and one specifically named Dajul, which was this hulking blue-scaled dragonborn with like He-Man styled armor with like bare chest, and like he had like hide shoulder pauldrons and like a loincloth thing, and he had a wooden staff carved with draconic runes and like feathers dangling from the tip of the spear itself. And he was hot-headed. He just wanted to kill him. Specifically Alton, because he was a halfling, and in our campaign prologue we learned that halflings and dragonborn haven't been getting along over the past few centuries. So he immediately wanted to eliminate them and just get rid of them, but because Dajul wasn't the leader of Hafka, he had to take them to their leader, known as Master Parin. Master Parin was a very, very old dragonborn. He had like a Fu Manchu like type mustache going on. He wore like brown robes, looking very shamanish with his wooden staff, and just looked very wise. And the party was brought before him after they had been manacled. They got their weapons taken from them to make sure they weren't going to cause any trouble, and they immediately explained what was really going on and what they were doing there for. Not specifically, they did leave out the fact that they were sent here by a gypsy lady to get dragonborn eggs. They basically kind of said that they were outsiders looking for some food, looking for some adventure, looking to meet new people. So Master Parin had them unmanacled and set free. They had a discussion talking about what was going on with the thieves, and they found out that there has been a run of egg thieves entering their settlement, and they're stealing their unborn young. And so immediately this tripped a red flag with the party. They had to have imagined that this was in fact the gypsy lady sending people to steal eggs from them, because it just was too coincidental. At least that's what I thought was going on, at least inside their mind. And even then there was also the Kenku from the first session that they fought, which that was even bigger. They were kind of trying to figure out what was actually going on. Master Parin kind of like walked them over to Zanshul, a red dragonborn female. She was like the den mother of all the unborn young. She kind of makes sure she was the one taking care for them. She was the one who got attacked by one. Her whole left side of her face was scarred. She could barely speak without a weird speech impediment. Her like whole left side of her face was sealed, so she had to talk out of the right side of her mouth like this. and it was a very kind of a difficult thing to do as a DM. Like, definitely was trying to dedicate myself to these NPCs and try to make them sound as realistic as possible, make them sound believable as far as just describing them. And I wanted to go that extra mile for my players, and hopefully they noticed it. I believe they did. I think I got compliments on it. I'm not too sure from at this point. It's been like a couple months since our first and second sessions. She explained to the party that the creatures that attacked her, who stole her eggs, were like humanoid bird-like creatures who immediately were identified by Alton, Eilon, Durgan, and Norik, that they were these Kenku that they fought. Norik even brandished the head of the Kenku that he took from the dead corpse to confirm, and again she confirmed it. So the party kind of felt like we should totally help these people out instead of stealing Dragonborn eggs, and they basically kind of stayed the night in Hafka, did some security work looking for just to see if they get attacked again once more. Nothing happened, but there was these rising tensions with Dajul, especially with Alton in the party. He felt like they were unwelcome, that they shouldn't be there, they shouldn't be guarding, that it should be his job. And they had like this ceremonial party thing for making new friends and whatnot, and he wasn't doing his guardsman job. The whole party was kind of like saying hello to the common folk, and Dajul was there not keeping watch, and so they got him in trouble with Master Parin, and he immediately was pissed off, and he went and begrudgingly did his job. The party then, shortly after that party, like I said, went out to help out, and that nothing happened overnight. They actually had found some tracks the earlier that day that led back to the forest. Next morning, they gathered their belongings. They met up with some Dragonborn merchants, Paraka, Jarnar. Paraka was a caravan, like a miscellaneous merchant. He had a little bit of everything. Jarnar was a Dragonborn blacksmith who actually sold Norik some specialty bone scale mill, I believe, which basically it's a type of armor that maintains the strength of regular scale mail but removes the disadvantage on stealth attempts. Some people might say that it's a little OP, but I think that it would make sense because, you know, it's lighter, so it's a little bit less clunky. I know bone does make noise if clanked around a lot, but so does everything. And I just thought it was a cool fact. I was thinking more that it would be lighter than actual regular scale mail. So they set off through the forest, and Alton, Eilon, Durgan, and Norik followed the tracks back through the way they came and just outside of the gypsy lady's hut, and they kind of like did like a patrol scene type of thing. They like watched around the house itself to make sure that no one was there, or to make sure that no Kenku arrived, because they had their concerns of whether or not she's the one who sent the Kenku, or if she was the one who had any involvement in it. I think Eilon set up like a minor illusion to look like a Kenku in the forest, and I think Alton had made a minor illusion where it sounded like a Kenku calling out to the gypsy lady, who then walked outside and replied with the same similar call, which immediately informed them that this was in fact, they were in cahoots with each other, and the party kind of like sprung forward. Didn't attack right off, but they approached her. And because we had talked about it, they actually took her name. They found out the gypsy woman's name was Lazette. And Lazette was not too happy about being befooled, immediately was suspicious. Durgan and Eilon were attempted to sneak around the whole conversation between Alton and Norik, and Durgan wasn't able to sneak so well. He was spotted, but Eilon was able to stealth around past Lazette the gypsy and get to inside her home, where he did some investigating and found out that there was a trapdoor underneath her bed holding a similar like brazier heating pool that was inside the den mother's tent and there was several Dragonborn eggs sitting within the pool itself. So confirmed that she was the egg thief and that they needed to take care of her. Shortly thereafter, she had been getting really irritated with Alton in particular, because he was using his bardic ways to keep her busy, used a charm spell. The minute passed away, she realized that he was messing with her mind, and her whole visage began to change into green leathery hide, long pointed nose, warty face, and they went into immediate combat with a green hag that was disguised as gypsy. A short, tough battle later, they had slain Lazette, the green hag, and looted the body. They found, or actually what had happened was Eilon had been using fire bolts, I believe, or fire spells against her, because I think there's a cantrip of his or something like that. It was a fire spell of some kind, and one usage of it, he rolled a natural one and hit Durgan with it, I thought that was fucking hilarious. And then his next attack with it, he got the "how do you want to do this" kill. Shout out to Matthew Mercer. And he basically like burned her alive, and the only thing that was left of her body was like a pile, or like a blackened, charred body with some ashes from her outfit. And they went back inside her house to kind of like figure out how exactly that they were going to bring these eggs back, and they looted the body. The most important notable thing that they found on Lazette's body was this crystal orb. It was a clear crystal ball with a black star, 7-pointed star in the center of this ball, and they could sense a powerful magic energy from it, which they had no clue what was actually going on with it. And that was the end of Session 2. Session 3 was mostly RP. They went and reported back to Master Parine, or they were going to report back to Master Parine when Da Jewel met them halfway through the forest of the Grimiok Bog, and asked them to let him return with the eggs, and to basically allow him to take credit for their work, because he felt like it was his duty to defend his people, that he felt dishonored that some outsiders was doing his job, and he was looking basically kind of the sympathy of the party. And most of them were like, hell no, I'm not doing that. We did the work. We'll say something along the line that you helped out, and that's about it. And they returned back to Master Parine in Hofka, and they went immediately to Zan Shul's den mother hut so that they could return the Dragonborn eggs to make sure that they're, properly warm and incubated. And Da Jewel tried to bring up in conversation that he was the one, he helped out with the party, and so he could kind of regain his honor with Master Parine and Zan Shul, and basically look good, which no one defended. More specifically, he was looking at Alton, the halfling bard, and immediately was pissed. He had sworn vengeance against Alton, and that was the last we seen of Da Jewel, for at least for now. Now, the party had returned everything, and they had also met up with a new elderly Dragonborn. This was a black Dragonborn sitting in a wooden-made wheelchair with a blanket over. Very, very old, older than Master Parine, and he was Elder Zaijunsu. And he had a similar mustache thing going on. They almost, if it wasn't for the fact that one was brass and one was black-scaled dragon, they would look almost identical, except... And he had a book on him that gave that almost correlated immediately with this crystal that they had found with a star in the center of it, which ironically they found out was called a star crystal. And they were tied to some sort of ancient legend that if you gather all these star crystals, you could bring them to a temple at the bottom of Lake Gemstar and make a wish of any kind, and it would be granted. Yes, to all you out there watching this is exactly what you think it is. It's a Dragon Ball. I've never seen Dragon Balls ever done in a D&D game, and I figured I would be the first one to do it, at least in my experience anyhow. And instead of giving them 2-3 wishes, I gave them one wish of any kind, and then after that they spread apart like typical Dragon Balls do and go their merry way. They wanted to invite the party to stay around and enjoy a celebration that the egg thieves were taking care of at the party. They felt like they needed to get to Blood Gulch Crossing, because in the first session I had said that caravan was going to Blood Gulch Crossing, and so they felt like they needed to go there and continue on their journey, which they spoke to Master Parin, and he gave them a small wagon to carry their things and head towards Blood Gulch Crossing over a short, and it was like about a 2 to 3 day travel time. They had ran into a guy named Derek along the way, and he kind of like informed them that there was an election going on within Blood Gulch Crossing between a man named Baron Galidon Crescentwind and his opponent Mercer Frey. No, he was not inspired by Matthew Mercer. And when they arrived at Blood Gulch Crossing, that's where Session 3 ended. Session 4 came around, and at that time, Alton, played by Caleb, couldn't play anymore. His schedule just got too tight. He just started school again. He had told us that this was going to be a very, very busy semester for him, so no hard feelings towards him. He has to do what's important to him, which I believe is important to anybody. Get your education on. He's always going to be welcome back to play if he ever chooses to do so. So we were down to a 3-man party with Eilon, Durgan, and Norik. And the first place they went to, obviously, it was a tavern. How do you not go to a new city and not go to a tavern? And the thing about this city is Durgan, in his old merchant days, have actually been to Blood Gulch Crossing. So he gave the party a quick rundown of what was going on. He told them about the West Wing, the Merchants Line, the residential areas, the College of Magical Sciences, and just like all the important places that they should know about. There's this tall tower with a domed roof with a giant spyglass pointing out of it. This was sort of an observatory, as you can imagine. And so after they had went into the tavern known as the Copper Cockroach, where Jared, the barkeep, an old friend of Durgan's, gave them some lodging for free because they were friends. The party had actually swindled some drunken barmen out of some knife throwing contests and got some gold out of it. And then they went beelined basically for that observatory because Eilon had this magical book that was directly correlated with the star crystal. He used his comprehend language spell over a few hours to kind of learn the book and figure out what was going on. And what he learned with this book was that exactly what I said. You get all 5 of these star crystals, bring them to the temple underwater in the Gemstar Lake, or Lake Gemstar, make your wish, and they go their own way. And he had also found out that it takes a song played by a magical instrument to lower the water enough to where someone could actually walk into this temple, and the notes were played or written in the back of the book, which I have the notes right next to me here, and I will show them to you thus far. And these are what they are. I know it's backwards, but so it's weird. I think Adrian, aka Eilon, had said something along the lines it had weird timing. I don't know a whole lot about music timing or whatnot, or if that was just him being silly in character. I don't know exactly what he was doing with that, but he said it was weird timing. I was like, I just wrote notes down, man. And so when they went to the Obsidian Tower, they met Ankano, which was a high elf assistant to his master named Navar. And Navar was this old gnome male astrologist / high wizard of Blood Gulch Crossing. You could tell just by looking at this short little gnome that he was powerful, he was wise, and he had a slight insanity to him. He spoke very sporadically and crazy sounding, kind of like Victor in Critical Role. In fact, he was inspired by Victor. He is my Victor in my campaign. I have no shame in saying that, because who doesn't love Victor? Victor, immediately noticed by the party, had a white gnarled staff, white oak staff with another star crystal atop his staff, and this was the 5-star ball. This was clear crystal orb with 5 or 7 pointed stars in the center of it. And Durgan, being the merchant he is, he wasn't sure that Navar even knew what he had, and tried to buy it from him. And Navar had told him that he was using the star crystal as his arcane focus, and that he would not part with it. And he also revealed that he knew exactly what he had, that he knew the same legends, and they had decided stated that they needed to keep all this secret. They needed to not let anybody get involved with this, because with power like that in the wrong hands, it can go terribly wrong. And then along the way, Eilon wanted Navarre, because he was powerful, to send an interplanar message to his master Remedia in the Feywild. And in exchange for doing this, Navarre, the High Wizard of Bloodgold's Crossing, wanted them to find a focusing lens that was stolen from his giant spyglass. And the only thing he had to give them as far as a clue was the name of the Nightingale. And the Nightingale are supposedly this local legend that most people aren't even sure exist. Most people discredit them, but Navarre had said that the only people who could pull this kind of thievery off was the Nightingale. There was no trace left behind, no clues to be found. It was just gone. And so the party took on this quest to find where this focusing lens could be. They went back towards the copper cockroach so they could kind of sit down and talk about things and figure out what to do first, and that is where we ended session 4. Session 5 was where we actually were able to find another player. This player, I went through the same process as I did with every player I did that's currently in the party. I went through an interview process. I had actually played a one-on-one one-shot with his character that he wanted to play, and his character's name is D'Angelo. He is a wood elf ranger with a wolf animal companion. I started him off at level 3 where the party was at, and basically we had to quickly find a way, obviously, for him to be a part of it. And during session 5, they were down in the lobby of the copper cockroach, and they overheard D'Angelo speaking with Jared about some badge or some symbol he had, and a note that he had from a mysterious warrior that attacked him. Now, in the 1v1 session, D'Angelo had actually came across the Nightingale. He didn't know it was a Nightingale at the time, but it was a ninja-esque warrior wielding a ninjato, straight ninja, and he found out it was a construct type creature, not humanoid in any ways. He had a very robotic face and blue glowing eyes, and to all who know what a Warforged is, this is exactly what that Nightingale is. If my players are watching, you don't know that. And basically his whole 1v1 one-shot with me was kind of figuring out how he played as a player, and then kind of a little bit of backstory of how he ended up in Blood Gulch. He's from Inland Nalore. He was part of the Inla Raiders, which was an elite, I wouldn't say elite, but a specialized attack force within Inland Nalore, and he had a very tragic backstory, kind of leading him to become, I wouldn't say dishonorably discharged, but he was discharged from the Inland Raiders. He was discharged from the guards of Inland Nalore, and he basically is on a search to find the princess of Inland Nalore. Session 5, like I said, they ran into him. He obviously joined the party, because why would he be in this session if he wasn't going to join the party? The first thing the new party wanted to do is they wanted to go talk to the head guardsman of Blood Gulch Crossing, which of course they did. And they went there and they met Glyne Abella, which is a female wood elf dressed in like black plate mail with a blackened great sword attached to her back, and basically wanted to let her know that they have information on potentially the Nightingale, and she immediately snuffed the idea. They found out very quickly that she does not believe they exist, that the evidence they found was probably foolhardy and a red herring, and probably didn't have anything to do with the Nightingales. And she insisted that if it is indeed something for the Nightingales, that she needed to take all the evidence that they had for further investigation, which included the badge or emblem found on the Nightingale's ninja outfit, the sword ninjato that D'Angelo took for himself, and the assassination note, which everything was cool until she said the sword. D'Angelo did not want to give up that sword, and I thought that there could be possibly a fight on our hands. First session for D'Angelo, he's going to start a fight with the guard captain, which I was cool with, but it could definitely happen, and whatever happens. It's a D&D, and anything can happen, and I will not stop my players from I will almost not stop my players from doing what they want to do. So what Eilon and D'Angelo did, they kind of like made like a minor illusion of the sword and said it could be magical by any means. And they had actually made a copy of the note that was on the the Nightingale soldier that D'Angelo fought in his 1v1 session with me, and gave the patch in the real note to Glyna Bella, the head guardsman. And when she went to reach for the sword, it sort of disappeared. And they just all shrugged their shoulders and somehow made a deception, or at least they think they made a deception against Glyna Bella and this Ninjato sword that she was wanting to take for evidence. I immediately got the vibe from everyone that they did not like Glyna Bella. Glyna Bella is a bitch. I made her be a bitch, and that's how I picture her being a bitch. She shut them out completely. She didn't want anything to do with the Nightingale. She just kind of shunned it off and said, look, if you don't want to give me this evidence for investigation, you're impeding on an investigation, I'll lock you up. So they unfortunately had to give up most of the evidence, and they were able to fool Glyne into thinking that she gave them the sword, or the sword disappeared, or whatnot. And they left with an appointment set for 4 days to go back and meet her with any more knowledge of the Nightingales they may have. And they went back towards the Obsidian Tower, where they had stopped in front of the Obsidian Tower, which was the Navarre's homestead, and they began to make an outside investigation, Norik made an outside investigation of what was of the perimeter to see if there was any way these Nightingale could have climbed on the surface, and that is where we left off on Session 5. Session 6 was very interesting. Session 6, the party had Norik had made his investigation around the Obsidian Tower, which came to no conclusive ending. There was nothing there that could have been used as climbing surfaces. The black granite and obsidian swirled stone that the Obsidian Tower is made of was too smooth and did not have any hand placements or any placeholders for them to climb upon. They went inside and they began talking to Ancano, the high health assistant to Navarre, where they wanted to get this letter decoded, and which they found out was an undercommon, or it was written in undercommon, but it was in this in the dialect was written in this way that they didn't quite understand what it said. So Ancano casted a spell upon it and immediately wrote down what the note said, which was basically an assassination letter confirming that this warrior that D'Angelo fought in his session with me was in fact a Nightingale, and that to eliminate him. And it was signed with the initials DD. So that could be an important thing to know in the future. Now, as they were having this conversation with Ancano, Navarre came downstairs with a guest. This so happened to be Eilon's master, Larithian Remedia. I pronounced that probably wrong. It's a Feywild name. I'm sorry, Adrian. I'm not trying to do that on purpose. But it was Larithian Remedia, a Eladrin bard woman who is super badass and basically gazed into the souls of each one of the characters or each one of the players, and basically gave them information on their quest and kind of explained how all of them were intertwined in some sort of way. Eilon found out that his dragon lineage came from a silver dragon, which he already knew, but the reason why he had it was that the Dunmeri Shogunate, which is the Drow Durgar in Deep Gnome military force up in Gonfarm and the Underdark that had invaded the Feywild long ago with the help of Lolth, the Spider Queen. And so they had to ask an ancient silver dragon for his help, and he imbued the bloodline of the Summer Eladrin in the Feywild with his blood. Therefore, Eilon had dragon blood within him, thus making him have innate magic, making him a sorcerer. Durgan, he found out the story of the siege on Gonfarm from the Dunmeri Shogunate. They used the same aid of Lolth, the Spider Queen, and even the dwarves with the aid of Moradin were not able to stop them and got them basically annexed by the Dunmeri Shogunate, and basically gave him a hint that Moradin's hammer lied beneath the bowels of the Dunmeri Shogunate, and also gave him the hint that danger was closer to home than he suspected. she told Norik that a friend he was looking for was closer to the mountains than he might think. She basically said that dwarves don't settle too far from their home, which dwarves often settle or live in mountains. So basically giving him a hint that he's somewhere around the base of the mountain somewhere, and also gave him plenty of hints that there could be special armors and treasures within the Vasta Morte Badlands desert, because part of Norik's character is that he likes to look at new types of armors or ancient types of armors just to see the different styles and find ones that he likes. D'Angelo found out through his soul search was that in fact that the high priest of Larithian Corellin, or whatever, the elf god, I can't pronounce these names because they're elf pronunciations and they're hard, and found out that the high priest was in fact a green dragon that had been protecting the city of Inland Nalore from outside attacks, such as ones from the Dunmeri shogunate. And she kind of brought it up because she had asked him if he had always wondered why they'd never gotten attacked by anything, how the city was able to stay so secluded and sacred. And he found out that basically that the high priest, who's actually a dragon, was taking elven brides to be, and which is actually him just eating them for a delicacy, because green dragons love eating elves as a special delicacy. So once a year, the whole city would basically sacrifice a young, beautiful elven girl to this green dragon to maintain protection. And D'Angelo immediately questioned what was going on, because they had just recently had an invasion of the city by the Nightingale, they suspect the Nightingale to have stolen the princess of Inland Nalore. So he's probably wondering what's really going on with that. What's actually going on? I can't believe that there is a green dragon in my city. I need to do something about it. Then, after they finished their conversation with Remedia and getting their visions made, she had actually given Eilon a new magical item, which was basically like a new version of his arcane focus, which is like this dragon bracelet that was made from sterling silver that kind of wrapped around his arm and up into his palm. At least that's how I imagine it. And this item was called Remedia's Protection because it was his master's gift to him. And what it does is give him +1 to his spell attack and to his spell save DC, and then gives him the ability to cast Shield once per short or long rest. So it's kind of like one of those oh shit buttons. Because they're level 3, that's when I actually started dishing out magic items in my game. So I thought it was a really cool idea, especially very story relevant to Eilon, and because it was his master, I figured maybe she would probably have a gift for him. And actually I had skipped over this, but Remedia was there from the beginning because she was coming from a reply that, as said before, that Navarre had sent a message for Eilon to his master that he wanted to talk to her about what was going on with these star crystals and possibly the Nightingale. And she basically showed up, told them that they're in deep shit, and basically read their souls and told them how they were all interconnected, and said that what was going on with them was actually fate, that she believes it was fate, and that it wasn't no coincidence that they all ran together, and that all their backstories have some sort of intertwining and dealings with the Dunmeri shogunate. And as they had left to go figure out what else more that they were going to do, they had actually made a deal with Navarre for sponsorship, which he gave them all 2,000 gold to mess with through persuasion and annoyance, and he is now allowing them to have lodging within the Obsidian Tower. So they have a home base in a wizard's tower, which I think that's pretty cool. And I thought that was pretty clever of Durgan and Eilon and the group to just kind of all gang up on this little old gnome who just wants to focus on his research and get basically a home out of it. And then they left. As they left, a small little courier boy brought Durgan 2 letters. One was a wax-sealed letter from the Baron of Blood Gulch Crossing named Galidon Cressawin, and one was a letter signed the Son of Blood Gulch. And basically they immediately figured out that the Son of Blood Gulch had to have been Mercer Frey, had to have been the other guy looking to talk to the group. And each one of the letters basically said the same thing, but in different dialect. The letter from the Baron was very formal, very fancily written. The one from the Son of Blood Gulch was very crass and very rudimentary in his phrasing, so you could kind of tell who they were dealing with just based off the letters alone. And the party immediately had to make a decision of what they were going to do with these letters. Who are they going to go talk to? Who they were going to, side with? And what they basically decided to do was talk to both of them, but in a certain order, because both the letters had actually said not to talk to anybody, but in different ways. That they chose to, and so they chose to talk to the Son of Blood Gulch first, because the way he phrased it, he said, "Don't tell anyone about this meeting," or whatever, or basically, to me, it said the same thing. Don't tell anybody about this conversation. And they read it in a way that said it was better to talk to Mercer Frey first over the Baron. And they went to the Black Runs Inn, which was more of a historical landmark for Blood Gulch Crossing, which was actually the first building of Blood Gulch Crossing that was owned by Talos Icebrand, the founder of Blood Gulch Crossing and the leader in the battle against the Ravenclaw clan, who they fought for over the territory that this very city stands on ages and ages ago. That's just a little bit of lore of my world. And over a short period of time within the Black Runs Inn, they were trying to make sure that they weren't being followed. They learned a little bit about the lore from the barkeep, and then they eventually approached the barkeep and asked him about the Son of Blood Gulch. And they were led down through a trapdoor behind the bar, and that is where they met Mercer Frey, this solid snake-looking guy with long, shoulder-length hair, eye patch over the left eye, very grisly looking, and and very strong. And that is where we left on session 6. And I will do a session 7 video because we had actually just got done with session 7, and because that is fresh in my mind, I want to go a little bit further in detail with that. Thanks everybody for watching this very long ass video of mine, trying to give you a brief general update of what's actually been going on in my campaign. I know I skimmed over a lot of details, so if you have any questions, post them down in the comments below and I'll clarify a little bit better. I just kind of wanted to give you guys a broad idea of what was actually going on. I know it was a long video, and I thank you for watching. If you watched it all the way to the end, let me know in the comments below. I will thumbs up it. I will thank you for watching. It is awesome. I got 39 subscribers, and I love every one of you for sticking around. And I really, really want to reach that 100 subscriber milestone and become a Dungeon Tuber level 2. Again, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to leave a comment down below, let me know that you watched it, and ask me any questions you want. And if you really enjoy my videos, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I'm posting a lot more videos now than I was before, so if you have been around since the beginning, every video I posted was like a month in between. And I've gotten a better pace about it, and I'm really happy to do these videos. So that's it, everyone. Thank you so much for watching, and always remember, no matter what it is in life that you are doing, do it for the XP, and have a good day.